Hi guys and girls, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Petra van Dale, life coach, and I live in Holland. I got a couple of emails this week to say, where in England do you live? I don't live in England, I live in Holland. But I went to a British school, so maybe that, explains my, my British accent. But anyway, I'd just like to say thank you to all of you for commenting on my last couple of videos and for leaving questions and for sharing your bits of story, with your involvement with a narcissist. And as I said before, I'd just like to say that again, is that I am not a therapist for, coaching people with narcissistic, who have experienced narcissistic abuse. But I do share with you my own experience in friendships, and I had a relationship with a narcissist years and years ago, about 20 years ago now. But these, I'm just sharing with you my experiences from a friendship and with someone that, of course, I do not diagnose. I don't think anyone should diagnose others in their lives, but you can put two and two together, and in my case, I suspect that I was dealing with a covert narcissist. But once again, this person has not been diagnosed. These are just my own thoughts on this. And of course, I went through a lot of information on the internet, and I've spent the last 13 to 18 months looking up all this information. So this is where my expertise come from. So I just wanted to get that out of the way to say that I am not in any shape, way or form a doctor or a therapist for narcissistic abuse. And I'd like to say thank you to my subscribers, all the new subscribers in the last couple of weeks, in the last couple of days. I think I went from 12 subscribers to, I'm at 48, 49 now. So that's wonderful, and I'm glad that you are enjoying the videos and that they are helping you in whichever way. So thank you once again. Today I'd like to talk on setting your boundaries. You know, what can you learn from being in a abusive relationship, a toxic relationship, whether it's with or without covert narcissist. And I thought this was very interesting because a lot of the time we tend to focus on what was done to us. So we tend to fall into the role of being a victim. And I, for one, do not like, for myself, I do not like the victim mentality. So that is why I would like to take the focus off, the traits of narcissism and what they do and that sort of thing. And of course I will touch on those as I speak, but I don't want to put my whole focus on that. I would like to focus on how I got through it, how I learned to set boundaries, what I learned from the relationship that I had with this toxic person. So I'd like to just, I think whatever you focus on grows, and that is not my intention. My intention is to help you as I received help from others and as I managed to get through this whole ordeal, because it is something that just knocks you completely. And a lot of the times we tend to look for ways to get through this abuse and to get through the doubt, the self-doubt, and the thinking, the overthinking that we usually do when in a relationship with a toxic person or when coming out of a relationship. So that is what I'd like to focus on. And today, as I said, setting your boundaries and learning from this abuse. So just to tell a bit of my story, I remember as a child, I was one who would always try and avoid any kind of conflict. And that came from the fact that my parents raised me to always be nice. Be a nice girl. Be nice to others. If I brought a new friend home, they'd say, is she nice? So, and bless my parents, I love them dearly. But they were just doing what they thought was the right thing to do. And of course, it is good to learn to be nice to others. But there comes a point where being nice just sort of wipes out all your boundaries. And you feel that you have to be nice to every single person you encounter. And so from my childhood, I was always nice. I was always silent. I would always listen and observe and give a smile and say nice things. And sometimes I would be boiling with anger because I didn't want to be nice at that point in time. And I wanted to voice my opinion. But this little voice in the back of my head would say, be nice. So I just grew up that way. And at some point, it just becomes the normal thing to do, to be nice. And another important point is that when I was at school, at primary school, I would be nice until someone really pushed my boundaries. And then I would just sort of explode and go all out and get into fist fights and, you know, get into horrible pulling of hair and kicking and that sort of thing. And that was because my boiling point had been reached. In hindsight, if I had set my boundaries, if I had said, look, this is not okay, I don't like what you're doing, I don't like what you said, then there would have been no reason to go all out and become verbally and physically very aggressive. So that was my thing growing up. And I took it into my adulthood as well. Because when dealing with this toxic person in my life, with this covert narcissist, the same thing happened as in primary school. So she would say things or do things or make hurtful comments or just, you know, really under the radar would get me here. And sometimes I would say something about it, but not in a what is the word I'm looking for? Not in a forceful way. I would say it in a way that, you know, I don't really like what you're doing, but I wouldn't be clear about setting a boundary. So I would sort of, you know, have this thing, once again, this thought in the back of my head saying, be nice, while I was going through this emotion of, I don't like what you said. But I was afraid of losing the friendship and afraid of hurting her feelings. So every time I would just, you know, be on the tip of my tongue to say something, and I would just swallow it back down. And what then happened is that it would just, you know, it would build. My frustration, my anger would just build and build and build. And it happened several times in our friendship where I would just completely explode. And then we'd have the conflict and we'd have the argument and we'd have the hurtful things said again. So what I learned, it got to a point in this friendship where I decided, you know, I'm now going to set boundaries. I need to set boundaries because it is bad for my mental health. It is bad for my physical health. I feel terrible and I need to set a boundary. So that is what I did. And it took me quite a couple of months to muster up the courage to say no to her for the first time. And it was something quite trivial, really, where I didn't agree with what she was asking. And I decided to say, no, sorry, I'm not going to do that. And needless to say, as probably has been your own experience, this person just completely exploded. And that made me feel small. That made me feel, oh my goodness, maybe I should correct that. Maybe I should just go along with what she wants. Maybe I should just say yes. But in doing so, you undermine your own authority, your own values, and you step over the boundary that is actually been set for yourself to protect your own peace. So I stuck to this. I stuck to no, and she was not happy. And in the following months, I, you know, did it again, said no again, or I said, look, what you're saying to me, I don't agree with. It's just, it's hurtful. It's not nice. You know, that is the way to set boundaries. And I think I should do a whole new video on this, on how to get yourself to the point of setting boundaries. But the reason why I tell you the story is maybe you can look back on your own life and think, where did this start? Was it in my childhood? Was it in my teenage years? Was it in my young adulthood that I even then was being too nice, too kind? Well, you can never be too loving, but you know what I mean. You know, the thing of being nice to everyone around you. Being nice to someone else does not necessarily mean that that is nice to yourself. So maybe you want to, you know, just check that and go back to where this all started, because the reason why narcissists or toxic people seek us out is because they know that we have a problem saying no. We are raised to be nice and to be kind. So they have a nose for that, you know, they can just smell that coming, and they know how to manipulate us in that. So if you just go back to where that started for you, it'll make it a lot easier to recognize what you're dealing with right now and where you need to set healthy boundaries. And what I call it is dropping the bullshit and focusing on the bliss. So the bullshit in my case was just taking all this crap and all this bullshit and all the sleepless nights and all the worrying and the self-doubt and the feeling small and the feeling intimidated by this person. And at some point I decided to drop all of this drama and all of this bullshit and just focus on my bliss. And my bliss was feeling good about who I was again, because I did have it before I met this person. And I wanted to get back to that good feeling, to that feeling confident in what I had to say and what I had to do. And giving myself the love and respect that I had lost along the way in the friendship with this toxic person. So I decided I'm just going to drop all of this bullshit because it's not serving me in any way. It's breaking me down, and I need to focus on my bliss again. So whatever your bliss may be, whether it is getting yourself back in shape, whether it's eating healthy, whether it's going to a rock concert, whether it's taking a walk in nature, whatever it may be, those were my things. I wanted to focus on getting back in shape. I wanted to feed my mind with positive self-talk. So I got out, I'd take walks in nature, I'd write a lot, because I'm a journal kind of girl. I love writing in my journal. So that was my focusing on my bliss again, where I just started writing about all the stuff that was bothering me, that you know, caused all the sleepless nights. And I got back in shape. I made a commitment to myself to just work out 3 days a week, you know, three hours a week in total. I changed my diet, started eating healthier. And you see, the wonderful thing about changing that sort of stuff in your life is that it feeds your brain as well. You know, when we're putting junk into our bodies, we tend to take a lot of junk from people around us. And when you start feeding your body with the nutrients and all the good stuff, that is when you make room for the good people to come into your life, or the people who lift you up and who surround you with love and who surround you or give you the respect that you deserve. So that is a start to setting your boundary, is by taking care of yourself first. And I don't mean that in a selfish way, I mean that in a nurturing way. So that is what I'd like to leave you with. Just focus on that. You know, maybe you need to sit and write it all down, all the junk that you have accumulated in your head and that is very toxic for your being as a person and for the way you show up in the world. And once you've found out what the junk is and what the bullshit is, then you can start weeding through that to get to your point of bliss. And I'm going to make more videos on this because I understand how difficult it is to set that first boundary. It is very difficult. When you've been boundaryless, is that a correct English word? If it isn't, please correct me. But when you have been without boundaries for most of your life, it takes a lot of courage to start setting those boundaries again, to start giving them a framework, to start laying the fundament, the floor on which you can build your self-confidence and build good relationships, not only with others, but firstly with yourself. I'd like to leave you with that today, and please, share this video if you feel that it can help someone else. I'd love to hear from you, and in my next video I'm going to focus more on getting those boundaries set. And I've got a whole list here again. I love my lists of videos that I would, like to share with you guys. So you'll be hearing from me again. And I love hearing from you guys. Thank you once again for tuning in and for viewing. And love to see you next time again. Take care. Be happy. Follow your bliss. Drop the bullshit. See you next time, guys and girls. Bye for now.